Hey everyone, Simon Hurley from Inklips here. Today I'm going to show you how to use a stamp set from Neat and Tangled, Waffle Flower, and Gina K to create 3 different cards that are really fun to color in. You can color them in at home or on the go using Bristol watercolor cardstock and some different watercolor markers and a bunch of different techniques and ways you can color them in to get a bunch of different looks. So if you want to see that, just keep watching. So first of all, I'm just going to show you a really basic technique with just regular watercolor, regular Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens on the Bristol cardstock, and trust me, this stuff looks pretty much better than watercolor paper, I'd say, with the Zig Clean Color brush pens, because it blends so well on this cardstock that it's just like butter. It's so good. So I'm basically just going to be stamping down all the little monkeys in black waterproof ink from this Waffle Flower stamp set, and don't be afraid to move things upside down or tilt them or things like that, just to make a really sporadic background. Now I know what you're thinking, I use this way too much, this layout here, but I like it for coloring on the go or things like that, because instead of coloring little images that I'll never use on cards, I like coloring big backgrounds that I know I can just slap a sentiment on and go on with the card and know that I'll have a really stunning background. And also, I just really love the images from some stamp sets, so I tend to want to use them all. So I just shove them on a big background like this, and I'm really happy with the result because all the images are just awesome in all the stamp sets that I use today, and some of the other sets that I've used with this layout too. That's why I use this layout so much, because I just love it. So for these monkeys, I decided that I'm going to just use the regular watercolor method with these Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and like I said, they blend like nobody's business. They blend like butter, and I find that this paper doesn't pill much either, so that's a really plus side to this as well. Because I find with some watercolor papers, it pills a little too much. But back to the card here. So I'm just adding a little bit of a Zig Clean Color Real Brush pen into the places where I want the shadows. I find you don't need to color too much with this, and then I'm taking my water brush and blending it out. You get a lighter color where you didn't add the shadows, and then most of the marker actually blends out on this paper, which is really awesome, especially if you don't wait too long. The more you wait, the more it sinks into the paper, but there is a coating on top of the paper that will give you quite a bit of time to use these markers on top. So you can color the monkey quickly and then go in with a water brush and it'll still be on top of the paper. Whereas if you use any other paper with these Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, you don't have nearly as much time. Also, I delegated a specific color for each monkey here. So for the first one, I did a dark brown / purple color with a little bit of a tint to it. For the second monkey, I did this mustard orange kind of color, I guess, or kind of mustardy brown. And then for this third monkey, I did more like a dirty brown. And I really love how all the monkeys turned out, and I designated a certain color to each one of them, and I think it just looks awesome. Also, I just wanted to mention, you don't need to be a super great at coloring things in when you're doing cards like this. It's just really simple watercoloring, so if you think this looks pretty difficult, it does look pretty overwhelming at the start. I agree with that. When I first started these cards, I was like, oh gosh, if I really want to do this, but you just sit down, grab some popcorn, watch your favorite Netflix show, or you can take them on the go and on an airplane or something like that if you want to. And it's really easy to color, and you just kind of keep going on, and before you know it, you'll be finished with the cards, and they'll be done super quickly, and it doesn't take much effort at all. Just add some color onto there, move your water brush around, just stay inside the lines and you'll be perfectly fine. So I'm just going on in with the pineapples here with kind of an orangey color, blending it out to a yellow. Then I did these bananas, and I wanted to do a brown at the bottom and a yellow at the top. So like I said, just add a little bit of color in there and blend it out. Do not color like the whole thing, because a little bit of these go a long way in this cardstock. They spread out like butter. So then for this background, I'm just doing a little bit of blue, and since you can barely see the marker marks after you're done blending them out on this cardstock, I just decided to scribble a little bit on in little places every once in a while, but you want to make sure you blend them out right away. And I'm just going to scribble it on and blend it out with my water brush, and I think this background looks pretty stunning. And to just finish it off and give the background just a little bit more detail, I'm taking this Spectrum Noir glitter pen and just running it over some of the pineapple and flowers and things like that, just to add a little tiny bit of more detail and shimmer to the background. I'm taking this sentiment in this speech bubble, which I just love, that says thanks a bunch, so I made one of my monkeys saying that and popped it up on foam tape. Then I stamped a little heart and blended it out the same way on Bristol cardstock with some red colors on here, cut that out and added it into the monkey's hand. Then I added some foam on the back of my card here, on the back of the panel we just created, and I'm adding some adhesive to that and adding it onto a top folding A2 size card base here. Then after I'm done with that, I'm using some glossy accents here, or actually it's a little bit of a different product, but I didn't have the glossy accents on hand. That actually worked. And also with this sentiment, you're going to want to make sure you use a waterproof ink, otherwise it turns a little bit yellow, but I added some glossy accents on top of both of those. For the second card today, I'm using the blending marker with the same Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens on Bristol cardstock, and I think this one you get a lot more control with, and it might be just a little bit smoother of a look as well. So if you like working with markers better, this might be the one for you. I chose these stamps from Neat and Tangled because number one, they look awesome and I wanted to use all of them. And number two, they have a little bit more detail in them, so with the marker you get a lot more control, so I thought this one would work better. And I'm just stamping all the images down with an acrylic block here, but by the end of the video, I'll show you a technique to mass produce your cards if you want to make them just like this, if you want to send them to friends to color or things like that, or if you want to just mass produce them to color on your own and send them out to a bunch of different people. Be sure to stick till the end to see that. So I'm basically taking the same technique here with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush Pen, coloring it in when the shadow will be, not giving it too much time to dry on this paper, even though it does have a coating and will give you a lot more time to blend out really smoothly. And then I'm taking the Tomo blending pen and blending it out almost till it gets to white. And then I'm going to move on to the next part of the little deer here, and in these little critters you want to work in little sections and then fade it out to white, because then you can make sure that you'll be getting them and you won't have a weird blending going on, and it'll be much easier to kind of blend it all together and not have any mistakes as you go out through here. If you leave it a little bit too long, it might pill the paper up a little bit, especially since this marker works the paper just a little bit more, even though it doesn't have that special coating on it for these markers. So I would just still do it in little sections and blend it all out to white before you go in with another marker once again, and then you can easily blend it all together once you're finished. So I'm just going to keep coloring the little critters in here, and I always start out with a lighter color, and if I need it to be just a little bit darker, I just add the little color on top, and it definitely makes it just a little bit darker without having any problems pilling your paper or anything. That's what I love about these markers and this certain cardstock, is it doesn't really affect it if you can add more color later, and it definitely gives you a little bit more of an option with how you color and how you blend your colors out as well. On the side here, I do have a little piece of cardstock where I wipe off my marker all the time here, because the tip does get that color on it, so once you switch colors, or if you want the color to be a lot lighter, you can just color your marker off to the side until it gets back to the white color, and then you'll be good to go if you want to switch colors or if you want to move to a different color without having the color be muddy. So then with this little mouse, I'm using a blue-gray color here, and for most of the animals here, I'm just using 1 or 2 colors to keep it really simple, and I don't want to keep too many colors here for the background or anything. And what I like about most of these cards that we're creating today is you really only need a certain amount of supplies, and you can really limit your supplies. That way it's really easy to pack or take somewhere where you're going, and I really find that super awesome, because then you can color these backgrounds in, know you have a specific card, and know that it'll work out for you without having to pack a ton. And if you're just waiting for someone or at the airport, or you just want to move around your house while you're coloring these and watch TV or something like that, this is definitely awesome, because you know for a fact that you'll have cards once you're done coloring these in, and you don't really have to waste time. You can multitask while you're doing it. That way you don't have to sit down, but you'll know that you still have a bunch of different cards made once you get home from some different event that you really want to color at. I find that this marker on this cardstock, once you're coloring it all in, it gives you a really smooth effect, but it also keeps the super vibrant colors without really pulling those out too much, and it kind of looks like you've just colored in with Copics, which is a really awesome look, and you get a lot of different shading and highlights and things like that, but you also want to make sure you don't work it in too much, or you might ruin your paper and things like that. So you want to find a happy medium of your blending and not blend just too much, and if you are blending just a little too much so your paper pills up, you're just going to want to give it a little bit of time to dry. Now for this background, I did the same thing with the blue, and I just did it all over the background, and then I'm cutting this stamp down. That's my sentiment. I'm cutting it in the middle of sentiments so I can mount it on my block in a different way, so I can have a square sentiment onto here that says thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm cutting that out, and I'm adding it on to the center of my card using some foam tape, keeping it super simple. I'm adding that onto the top of a card base, top folding card base A2, and then I'm going to move on to the next card. This last one is really cool because you're going to be coloring with lots of different shimmer, and everything turns out super shiny. So for this, I'm using some Gina K Designs stamps, and these are all flowers, and since there's a huge variety of flowers in this, I decided I'm just going to use the Misty and line them all up in here. This is a really easy way to mass produce cards. If you have a bunch of different stamps that you don't really want repeating in your background, you can line them all up in your Misty stamping tool, press down your top, and you'll have many stamps ready to go if you just want to stamp them all out rapidly, and you'll have all of the same cards, which is really awesome. I'm making that up using the same waterproof ink, and then I'm going to stamp it down onto the Bristol cardstock, and this is really awesome. Just give it a lot of pressure since there's a lot of different stamps on here. Make sure you're giving each one individual pressure, and then you can start on with your coloring here. I'm starting off with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens once again, and this time I'm using that same Spectrum Noir glitter pen here. This is really awesome. It gives off a bunch of different glitter, and it's just like kind of the blending marker and kind of the water brush mixed together. It's like a happy medium between that, except it has a lot of different glitter in it, so you'll get a really sparkly and shimmery effect once you're finished. And also this glitter does not rub off at all once you're finished, so this is a great project to do if you're kind of afraid of glitter but you love the shimmer. This is a really awesome product to use because it doesn't come off at all on your hands, and you can keep it really clean and contained in this one little bottle. So I'm just coloring all the same little ones in like this. I find that the color spreads super easily with this, and you can really add it on really nicely, and it doesn't really matter. I decided that I'm going to do little sections at a time again, unless if it's just one big thing that I can just color in all at once. But it gives you a really really nice watercolor kind of effect like you get with the same first one, except it gives you a lot of different shimmery effects. So then I'm just going to keep coloring it in here, keep blending them out like I did in both of the other cards. This is just a super simple technique, and I found with all these flowers, I don't really know like the flower anatomy or all the colors of the flowers, but I decided I just want to color them a bunch of different random colors and give them all super fun and bright colors, and I think it turned out really awesome in the end. I also added some different experimental colors in the middle. I think that one was either like a black or a purple, and it just gives a lot of different shading in the center and differentiates the flowers from other ones. And also, like I did earlier, I'm keeping a sheet on the side of the cardstock. That way, after I'm done with one color, if I want to switch into a different color, you just wipe your little brush off there, get rid of some of the glitter until it turns completely white, and then you'll be ready to go for the next color or shade that you're adding on. And if you also want it to be lighter, just fade it out like that as well. So I'm just keeping adding the colors in like I would shading with Copics, except I leave the other space white. So you get a really nice shaded effect like this, and definitely do not color the whole thing in. So I'm just going to keep blending. I use a lot of different shades with this one, whereas some of the other ones I just used one shade to blend, but I found that with these flowers, it's really awesome to just experiment with a bunch of different shaded colors, and you can have a lot of fun using them. I also wanted to mention that usually I use the Wink of Stella, but recently I found these Spectrum Noirs in a pack of 3 for a pretty cheap price, and I kind of like how they're working, and I love the glitter that's in it rather than the Wink of Stella. They're both kind of really even for me, and it's kind of a toss-up between them right now, but I do love using the Spectrum Noir pen almost as much as I love the Wink of Stella, so I'll probably link down to both of them below because they're both pretty equal for me. So for the background on this card, I'm just coloring it in the same way I did everything else, just adding a little bit of color there and then blending it out using my Wink of Stella brush pen, except on this background I used a tan kind of brown color to almost look like dirt for the flowers. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I love these 3 cards and how they turned out, and I love the different ways you can color on Bristol cardstock, and I'm definitely going to be keeping using this because it's so awesome for your blending and watercoloring with all your water-based markers. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a big thumbs up, and if you learned a little bit more, I would appreciate that as well. If you like this video and you want to see more of my content, don't forget to click that subscribe button on screen right now. There's more videos on screen of my content if you want to watch that as well. You can also click the link heading over to my blog where there's much more information about this card with a full supplies list, and there's many more cards on there as well and many more images. I hope to see you guys very soon in the card making and crafting video. Bye!